Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Shri Radha Gokulananda ki jai, Shri Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman ki jai, Shri Shri Gauranitai ki jai, Shri Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Maharani ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bo.
Hare Krishna everyone, wonderful. You have stayed so far. And now we are going over to class. So Kanchana Kapsha Prabhu is here and he will give the class on Gopal Bhatta Prabhu for us. So if he can now turn around and face this side, please. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Jaya Gopi Chana Vallabha Girivara Dhari Jaya Gopi Chana Vallabha Girivara Dhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jai. Thank you, brother. Thank you so much. No.
Hare Krishna. How are we all doing? So thank you all for coming to Bhaktivedanta Manor, the Hare Krishna temple, this Tuesday evening, July 15th. It's a very auspicious day. Today is the disappearance day, which means the day that a great Vaishnava has left the world. So many, many years ago, in the year 1578, so about 450 years ago, one great saint named Gopal Bhatt Goswami left this world in Sri Vrindavan Dham. And whenever a great Vaishnava, a sadhu, appears in this world or disappears from this world, it is a day of remembrance and celebration. So today we are remembering Gopal Bhatt Goswami. So we'll explain a little bit about Gopal Bhatt Goswami. Today is the disappearance day, and like we said, on the disappearance day, the day sometimes is a sad day when we remember, because it's the day someone has left our sight. So when someone passes away, we often feel sad. On the anniversary of one's passing away, we feel sad because we remember all the wonderful times we had with that special soul. But at the same time, when someone has lived a very fulfilled life, a life of contribution, a life making it beneficial for others, then naturally what happens is that day is also a day of celebration. What a well-lived life. And Gopal Bhatt Goswami lived a very, we can say, a well-lived life. So we can explain a little bit about Gopal Bhatt Goswami, but to explain the life of Gopal Bhatt Goswami, we first must ensure we know who is Lord Chaitanya. Because without Lord Chaitanya, Gopal Bhatt Goswami's life, he himself felt, was very vacant. So who is Lord Chaitanya? So when we come to I remember when I first came to this temple many, many years ago, I would walk in, I would ignore Srila Prabhupada. I would think, yeah, who is he? I don't know, okay. I'd see these pictures, okay, yeah, cool, and come straight there because I knew of Radha Krishna when I was young, and I knew of Sitaram, Lakshman, and Hanuman. And I kind of didn't even see the deities in the middle because they're very small. Yeah, they're very small. So in the middle, we have Gauranga to the right and Nityananda on the left. So Gauranga and Nityananda, they are exactly the same person as Krishna and Balaram. And Krishna and Balaram came 5,000 years ago. And Gauranga, Lord Chaitanya, he is the same person as Krishna. We can say the latest avatar of Krishna. And he came 500 years ago, a bit more than 1486 he came. And 12 years before that, Lord Nityananda appeared. And he is non-different to Balaram. Okay, so Krishna, Balaram, Ram, Lakshman, Gauranga, Nityananda, same person. So Ram is the same as Krishna, is the same as Gauranga. Lakshman, who was the younger brother in Ram Leela, but then became the older brother in Krishna Leela, and also the elder brother in Gaura Leela. Okay, so Gauranga is Lord Chaitanya, and his brother is Lord Nityananda. So that's the two deities, the small deities we can see in the middle. They're non-different to Krishna and Balaram. So they came 500 years ago, and the story of Lord Chaitanya, there's Lord Chaitanya's life, or we could say pastimes in this earth, on this earthly planet, they were recorded in different scriptures. There's Chaitanya Mangal, there's Chaitanya Bhagavad, there's Chaitanya Charitamrita. And in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, or should we say the Chaitanya Charitamrita was the book of Lord Chaitanya's pastimes that Srila Prabhupada, our founder Acharya of the Hare Krishna movement, that he translated. And it's very interesting that the author of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, his name is Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, he asked different devotees for their blessings. Please bless me. I'm about to write this book, Chaitanya Charitamrita. Please bless me so that I can complete this work. And one of the sadhus that he approached was Gopal Bhatt Goswami. And he approached Gopal Bhatt Goswami and said, "Can you please give me your blessings?" And Gopal Bhatt Goswami gave him blessings, but the blessings came with a condition. It's interesting, isn't it? Sometimes we ask someone for blessing, and when we ask someone for blessing, we just want the blessing. You know, you just want the blessing and bus. Don't ask me for anything in return. Has that happened before? Yeah. I remember when I was young, I would ask my mother, give me the blessings, I'm going to do my exam. And I'd be very scared, very nervous. And, you know, as a young boy, I'd just be hoping she would say, "Yes, beta, here's your blessings." But my mom would say, "But then why didn't you study?" So there was a condition. The blessing came with condition. Okay, you study, I'll give you blessing. But when Gopal Bhatt Goswami was asked for the blessings to write, to give Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, who was about to write Chaitanya Charitamrita, he asked for one thing which I found so amazing. You know what he asked? He said, "Fine, I'll give you my blessings, but in return, what I want is that you don't mention my name in this book. Don't mention my name in this book. If someone asks me for blessings, I'll say, make sure I'm on every page of this book." But Gopal Bhatt Goswami says, make sure I'm not in, my name is not mentioned. So such is the humility of a Vaishnava. A Vaishnava, a devotee of the Lord, wants to contribute maximum and wants recognition to a minimum. So if we're thinking about how much advancement we are making in our spiritual life, how much closer are we getting to God, we can think of Gopal Bhatt Goswami, and we can think, how much is it that I want my name recognized, and how much is it that I just want the Lord's name to be recognized. And Gopal Bhatt Goswami was such a devotee that he didn't want his name mentioned. So it's very difficult in one sense to get much information. We have, of course, information about his life, but not as much as there could be because of his deep humility. What is humility? Humility is kind of the balance. Sometimes we live a life of super ego. Everything is me, I'm amazing, I don't need anybody. If it wasn't for me, this world wouldn't even be going round and round. I'm everything. You know, everything's about the ego. And then we have the other side. And the other side is sometimes we can have a life of complete insecurity. I'm nothing, I'm rubbish, I can't get out of bed, I'm feeling depressed. You know, the complete other side of the pendulum. So one is, I am everything, super ego. The other is a life of deep insecurity. And the balance in life is to find humility. Because with humility we can contribute so much and understand that actually it's all coming from the Supreme Lord. It's all coming from Krishna. It's all coming from Gauranga. Gauranga is another name for Lord Chaitanya. Gauranga. Gaur means golden. Ranga, complexion. So when Lord Chaitanya came, he is the same as Krishna. And the reason why he is called Gauranga is because he has a golden complexion. Because Krishna is always with Radharani. And Radharani, her complexion is golden. And because her complexion is golden, when he came as Lord Chaitanya, he is Krishna, but in the mood of Radha. So he didn't want his name mentioned. And so what one story in the Chaitanya Charitamrita that is mentioned is that Lord Chaitanya, in the year 1510, so when he was around in his 24th year, 25th year, he he took sannyas at a very young age. He renounced. He took sannyas, and then he decided his headquarters would be in Jagannath Puri, which is just near Bengal, which is in Orissa. And then he went on his first tour, which was to South India. And when he went to South India on his tour, he went to a place called Sri Rangam, Rangakshetra, where there's a huge, nice, big deity of Ranganath. So this is around the year 1511. And when he was going to this, temple, Ranganath temple, Lord Chaitanya became very ecstatic. See, Ranganath is a deity of Vishnu, Narayan. And when he went, he was so ecstatic because Lord Chaitanya, even though he's Krishna, he's come in the mood of Radha, and the mood of Radha is to be in love with Krishna, right? That's her mood. She's in love with Krishna. So when Lord Chaitanya sees Vishnu, he's feeling love for Krishna because he's in the mood of Radha. It's a very interesting, beautiful avatar, Gauranga. Even just by saying the name Gauranga, we become very, very blessed, very, very blissed and blessed. So he's seeing this deity of Ranganath. He's really very blissed out. And one family who were going to this temple every day, a South Indian Brahmin family, were going to this temple. They saw Lord Chaitanya, and they were very, very, we could say, positively infected by his enthusiasm to chant Hare Krishna. He was uncontrollably chanting, which wasn't the done thing in a South Indian temple. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Very ecstatic in this South Indian temple in Sri Rangam. So this family is the family of Venkata Bhatta. So Venkata Bhatta had two brothers, Tirumala Bhatt and Prabodha Bhatta. There's three brothers, and the son of Venkata Bhatta is Gopal Bhatt. And Gopal Bhatt was a 7-year-old boy. And every day there would be discussions in this house between Lord Chaitanya and Venkata Bhatta and family, we could say. So actually what happened, they came to the house, and when he came to the house, the family, they worshipped Lord Chaitanya, as is the custom. Come to our house. They bathed his lotus feet, and actually when they bathed his lotus feet, the Charnamrit was given to Gopal Bhatt, this 7-year-old boy. And when he got this Charnamrit, he started crying. It's as if all the love that was in his heart started to pour out in these tears. And they had these discussions on Krishna. But what was also interesting was that this was just the beginning of the Chaturmasya period. So the Chaturmasya period is the 4 months of the rainy season. So Venkata Bhatta and family said to Lord Chaitanya, look, you've come here, you're here, but now generally the sadhus do not travel when it's the rainy season. They usually stay in one place and give Krishna Katha. So they said to Lord Chaitanya, why don't you just stay here? And Lord Chaitanya agreed. He was happy and he agreed. So for 4 months during this Chaturmasya season in that year 1511, he stayed at the house of Venkata Bhatt. So he stayed there, and we could say that they became very friendly, very respectful, but also very friendly. They were like brothers, friends. Venkata Bhatta created a nice friendship with Lord Chaitanya. And what was interesting was they were friends, but yet they had this sweet tension. Venkata Bhatta was a devotee of Lakshmi Narayan, and Lord Chaitanya was a devotee of Radha Krishna. And in such conversations they would have, Lord Chaitanya would sometimes tease Venkata Bhatta, playful teasing. Your Lakshmi, she's always with Narayan. But how is it that your Lakshmi wanted to go and be with Krishna? And Venkata Bhatta replies to Lord Chaitanya, yes, there's nothing wrong. What's the big deal? Lakshmi is with Narayan, and when Narayan is in a different dress, he is Krishna. So if she wants to be with Krishna, or if she wants to be with Vishnu, no problem. And then Sri Chaitanya said, yes, very good, you're right. The Lakshmi Devi has all right to want to be with Krishna. She has every right to want to be with Krishna, even though she's always with Narayan. And then they would back and forth. They would have these beautiful conversations. And then Lord Chaitanya said, but then why is it that one day when Lakshmi wanted to enter into the Rasa Leela, the Rasa dance in Vrindavan Dham, that she could not enter it? Why is it that she could not enter the Rasa dance? And then Vyankata Bhatt, who was a little vexed, a little perplexed by this, said, oh yes, I don't see why she couldn't enter. What is the reason she couldn't enter into the Rasa dance? So this is the very interesting thing, that when we are with a sadhu, that we can have discussion, but when we know that this sadhu is more learned and more realized, we have some humility to actually then, rather than just challenge for the sake of challenging, become a little respectful and ask, okay, why is it? Why is it that actually this is the situation? And Lord Chaitanya then described that Lakshmi Devi, she didn't want to give up her spiritual body. This form of Lakshmi Devi which is full of opulence. And the opulence in Vrindavan is not to have opulence. The opulence in Vrindavan is to be a simple cowherd damsel of Vraj. This Vraja Bhakti, this devotion of Vrindavan. And Lakshmi Devi didn't want to give up her opulence. So in this sweet exchange, Vyankata Bhatta then understood, oh, okay, this is the reason that she wasn't allowed to enter into the confidential Rasa Leela, the Rasa dance. So in this way, we can understand that Aishwarya, opulence, the opulence of the Lord is subservient to Madhurya, the loving, sweet relationships that one can have between the Lord and his devotees. And we can see this in different times. For example, in the Bhagavad Gita conversation, Arjuna asks Krishna, let me see your universal form. Let me see your Aishwarya Rupa. And then once Krishna shows him the universal form, it's all too much for Arjuna. It's all too much for Arjuna. And he then says, no, Krishna, come back. I want to see your two-armed form again. This is scaring me. This is too much for me. And then Arjuna laments, I treated you like, hey Krishna, hey Yadava, hey Saketi, you're just like a friend, a Yadava. I called you so freely, but you are this supreme person. And so when we're with Krishna, sometimes we're with Krishna and we understand that this Supreme Personality of Godhead, as well as being the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is also my very sweet friend. He's very, very loving and kind and very sweet. And when we are thinking of him in that sweetness, we may forget he is the Supreme Lord, because we're just getting attracted to how sweet he is. And in Vrindavan, it's always like that. They're just so attracted to his sweetness that they forget that he's actually God. They love Krishna because he's Krishna, not because he's God. It's a very interesting understanding. So they're having these conversations, and Vyankata Bhatta is blissed out. His two brothers, Tirumala Bhatta, Prabodha Bhatta, they're just blissed out having these conversations with Lord Chaitanya. The parents are so happy that even Gopal Bhatt, this small 7-8-year-old boy, he's every day doing service for Lord Chaitanya. He's every day hearing these conversations, and even he is becoming very, very blissful, just as a young boy. And the 4 months were coming to an end, and Gopal Bhatt is begging Lord Chaitanya, just stay a little longer, don't go yet, don't go, stay a little longer. And Lord Chaitanya agrees to stay for 10-15 days longer, just to be with Gopal Bhatt, because he asked with so much love, so much affection, so much intensity in his desire to be with Lord Chaitanya. And Gopal Bhatt felt very sad that he would hear of these pastimes of Lord Chaitanya before him taking sannyas. And he was always hoping, wondering, wishing, desiring that he could have seen Lord Chaitanya as the Nimai Pandit, the Lord in Navadvip, before he took renunciation, before he shaved his head, and he had, like we can see in the middle picture here, with nice, long, beautiful hair. He just wanted to see the Lord in this Navadvip form. And one day, while Lord Chaitanya was still there in these last few days, Gopal Bhatt had this dream, or we could say like a revelation. And in this dream, he sees Lord Chaitanya, he sees Lord Nityananda, he sees Advaita Acharya in this Navadvip Leela. And in this Navadvip Leela, he's just about to get some conversation with Lord Nityananda or with Advaita, and then his dream broke. And he then went to Lord Chaitanya and started crying. And suddenly, when he goes to see Lord Chaitanya, what happens? He sees Lord Chaitanya in the form of Shyam Sundar Krishna. He sees just before his eyes that this Gauranga is non-different to Krishna. And then he sees the form of the Navadvip Lord Chaitanya, the one with the long head that he's been beholding for so long. And then he sees again, he becomes unconscious, and then he sees Lord Chaitanya in his sannyas where he is right now. So in this way, Gopal Bhatt Goswami is just as a very young boy getting so much mercy from Lord Chaitanya. He's getting so much of the ecstatic relationship with Lord Chaitanya just as a young boy. And he doesn't want Lord Chaitanya to leave. Venkata Bhatta, the father, doesn't want him to leave. Then they're kind of saying, okay, we'll come with you. We'll come. And Lord Chaitanya says, okay, everyone calm down, relax. And he tells Venkata Bhatta to stay in Srirangam. And he tells Gopal Bhatt Goswami that once your parents depart this world, look after your parents, but once they depart this world, then you go to Sri Vrindavan Dham. And when you go to Sri Vrindavan Dham, you will meet Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami, and be under their guidance and help them in their service of excavating the holy places and writing Vaishnav literature. So Gopal Bhatt Goswami, he listens to Lord Chaitanya as hard as it was, and Lord Chaitanya, he tells Venkata Bhatta, look after this young boy, and even though you might be tempted when he reaches a certain age, don't let him get married. Don't let him get married, so that he can then go to Vrindavan and do his service in this lifetime. So and Venkata Bhatta gladly took on the Lord's instruction and brought him up, made sure that he didn't start pressurizing Gopal Bhatt Goswami at a certain age to get married, because he knew of the instructions of the Lord. Everyone has a different dharma. Everyone has a different life to live according to our psychophysical nature. Some of us need to get married, some of us don't. And Lord Chaitanya sees in Gopal Bhatt that this boy doesn't need to get married. He can do better service for me if he doesn't get married. And some others, according to their psychophysical nature, will do better service if they do get married. And so therefore, according to one's nature, the Guru, or in this case, the Lord himself, can help us understand what is my path. How can I serve best? What should I do so that I can be of best contribution to the spreading and the devotion of Lord Krishna? The spreading of the devotion to Lord Krishna. So Lord Chaitanya then leaves, and they take the instructions, and Gopal Bhatt Goswami does what he was asked to do. He stayed patient, he carried on his duties at home, and finally, and after some time, he took initiation from his uncle that was there. So Prabodha Bhatta became the famous Prabodhananda Saraswati. And then Gopal Bhatt took initiation from Prabodhananda Saraswati, who is actually his uncle, his dad's younger brother. He took initiation, took Diksha from him. And when the time came, he left for Vrindavan Dham. And his father said to him in the final days, you go and worship Lord Chaitanya and do the instructions. So then he went to Sri Vrindavan Dham. What's very interesting is when this happened, Lord Chaitanya was still performing his pastimes in Jagannath Puri. And Gopal Bhatt was in Srirangam in South India. And when the time came Even though Gopal Bhatt had not seen Lord Chaitanya since he was a 7 or 8-year-old young boy, by this time he's around 30 years old, so around 22 years have passed. Lord Chaitanya was in Jagannath Puri. And he could have easily said, he's missing Lord Chaitanya so much. And he could have easily decided that I'm now going to go to see Lord Chaitanya in Jagannath Puri. I haven't seen him in 22 years, I'm missing him, he's the Lord of my life, I just want to be with Lord Chaitanya. But what he did was he associated with Lord Chaitanya. How? By taking or following the instruction. And the instruction of Lord Chaitanya was that when your parents are departing this world, or when they depart this world, you go to Vrindavan Dham. So it's making an example of how we may want to be with the Guru, the physical form of the Guru. But actually what's more important than the Vapu, the physical form of the Guru, is the Vani, following the instructions of the Guru. And the reason it's more important is because the Vani is there always. And the physical form of the Lord, or of the Guru, may not always be there. So we're learning this very important instruction through Gopal Bhatt Goswami. Even though he really wanted to see Lord Chaitanya, he did what Lord Chaitanya wanted him to do. So he goes to Sri Vrindavan Dham, and he goes under the guidance of Sanatan and Rupa Goswami, just as Lord Chaitanya had asked him to do. And Lord Chaitanya, he's in Jagannath Puri, he's with Nityananda, he's with Advaita Acharya, and he's thinking, okay, what's happening? What's happening? Has Gopal Bhatt reached Vrindavan? Has he reached Vrindavan Dham? So he sends a letter to Vrindavan Dham to ask Rupa and Sanatan Goswami, has he come? Has he reached? Is he there? But in those days, there was no Royal Mail, DHL, none of this. So you send a messenger, they take months to get there, and then you send a letter back, and it takes a few months because they're on foot, they're walking this way, walking that way. And so Lord Chaitanya asks if he's come, and Rupa and Sanatan Goswami are ecstatically responding, yes, he has come. Everyone is so excited to be in his association. He's been telling us about his association with you. He's very humble and saying very wonderful things about Gopal Bhatt Goswami. So that letter gets back to Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya sees this letter, and he's so ecstatic to hear that Gopal Bhatt has made it to Vrindavan, and he's under the guidance of Rupa Goswami, he's under the guidance of Sanatan Goswami. And Lord Chaitanya writes back, and he says to Gopal Bhatt Goswami, don't worry about your security, don't worry about having a place of residence. You focus on the spiritual literature, to write the spiritual literature under the guidance of Rupa and Sanatan Goswami. Take them as your older brothers, and you help them with their writings and excavating the holy places in Sri Vrindavan Dham. So Lord Chaitanya sends him the letter, and he also sends him some gifts. Some very wonderful gifts. He sends him, Lord Chaitanya sends Gopal Bhatt Goswami his kopin, he sends Gopal Bhatt Goswami his sannyas cloth, and he sends Gopal Bhatt Goswami an asan. And these articles of worship are still present in Vrindavan Dham today in the Radharaman temple. And Gopal Bhatt Goswami, when he receives this, he's just so happy that he's pleased his Lord. He's carried out the instructions and he's pleased the Lord. So Gopal Bhatt Goswami, he's in Vrindavan Dham, he's writing literature as was asked of him by Lord Chaitanya. And interestingly, he gets a dream or a revelation from Lord Chaitanya to go to Nepal and to go to the Gandaki river and to start worshipping shalagram shilas, these stone forms of the Lord. So he goes to Nepal and he goes to the Gandaki river and he gets 12 shalagram shilas, these, if you like, the stone form of Krishna. We can see we have a little Ram Shila there. Near Lord Ram, and these little shilas, he brings them back to Vrindavan, and he starts worshipping them, but he doesn't feel qualified to worship these shilas. So then he goes all the way back. He goes all the way back to Nepal to put them back in the Gandaki river. But every time he tries to put them in the river, the Shilas keep jumping out and coming back to him. And he tries to put them back in the river and they keep jumping out and coming back to him. So then he understands that my Lord wants me to worship these Shilas, these little stone-like forms of the Lord. So then he brings the Shilas back to Vrindavan Dham and he worships them very, very elaborately every day. And in his worship, or actually there's different versions of the story, but we can just say that he went to one devotee's house. He took shelter in one person's house, and they had two young sons, Gopinath and Damodar, who then became his disciples when he was traveling from Nepal to Vrindavan. And when he came back, he came back to Vrindavan. He's worshipping his Shilas, and Jai Shri Shri Radha Gokulananda Bhagwan ki Jai, Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman Bhagwan ki Jai, Gaur Nitai Bhagwan ki Jai. So he's worshipping these Shilas, he's worshipping them. But then what's happening is one day a Vaishya, a business person, he's giving charity to the different Goswamis, to Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami. And this charity is clothing for the deities of the Lord, paraphernalia for deity worship. So Rupa Goswami gets, Sanatana Goswami gets, and then Gopal Bhatt Goswami gets. But Gopal Bhatt Goswami is wondering, what do I do with this paraphernalia, these clothings for a deity form of the Lord? Because I have Shilas, I have these small stone-like Shilas. I don't have a deity form to worship for myself. So he's wondering, what do I do? What do I do? I don't have this. And again, there are different versions of what happens. But one very beautiful version that I heard, which I really liked also, was that Lord Chaitanya appears to him and says to him, one day the Shaligram, one of your Shaligram Shilas, one of these 12 Shilas will manifest into a deity. Be patient. Just like he was patient for so long, waiting in South India, just be patient. One day, one of your Shalagram Shilas will become a worshipable deity. And so he's swinging the Shilas on the swing one day, and he's praying. And then on Nrsingadev Chaturdashi, his desire intensifies like anything. His desire intensifies like anything. And he's saying to Lord Nrsingadev, just I want to be like Prahlad, because for Prahlad, you appeared out of a stone pillar. You appeared out of a stone pillar as Nrsingadev. And so he wanted the Lord to appear from his stone Shila. Where is the Lord? Where is the Lord? And so he says to his Damodar Shilas, okay, the next day I'm going to the Yamuna, I'm going to go take a bath, and when I come back, if you haven't manifested, then I'm going to take these 12 Shalagram Shilas, and I'm going to go back to the Yamuna, and I'm going to end my life. Enough's enough. But that very next day, the day after Nrsingadev Chaturdashi, the Damodar Shila, which is out of the 12 Shilas, one of the Shilas is called, the main Shila was the Damodar Shila. That Shila manifested into the beautiful deity of Radha Raman. And Gopal Bhatt Goswami was ecstatic. He sees this self-manifested deity of the Lord, Radha Raman. And he goes to Rupa Goswami, he goes to Sanatana Goswami, and they're all so ecstatic, they're all so happy that Radha Raman has appeared. Gopal Bhatt Goswami personally names this deity Radha Raman, the one who gives pleasure to Srimati Radharani. And it's said that this deity of Radharaman, which is still present today, the original deity of Radharaman is still present today in Sri Vrindavan Dham. See, when what was his name? Aurangzeb? I think the name was Aurangzeb, the Muslim leader a few hundred years ago. He was going around Vrindavan and he was trying to destroy all the temples and all the deities, the original deities of Vrindavan, they had to be moved to places like Jaipur. But the Radharaman deity was never moved. Because the Radharaman deity, if you see where the temple is, it looks like a block of flats, like housing. The deity is very small deity. So Aurangzeb wasn't really so bothered. He didn't really think of this as a deity that had to be of any significance. He didn't see the significance. But this deity of Radharaman, it's said to have the face of Govinda, the chest of Gopinath, and the lotus feet of Madan Mohan. So when we take the darshan of Radharaman, you're taking darshan of Govinda, Gopinath, and Madan Mohan, these principal deities of Sri Vrindavan Dham. So the deities, the deity of Radharaman is the original deity. And when we go to the temple of Radharaman, it's a very beautiful temple, very beautiful deities. I remember just being there a few months ago, and it's just Radha Ramana Hari Bol, and they're just singing, they're dancing, and it just feels, when you're there, it just feels like you're in the best place in the universe. And at that moment, I remember being there thinking, there's nowhere else in this universe that I'd rather be. It's just wow. It's just wow. And Gopal Bhatt Goswami, he's worshipping this deity of Radharaman with all his love, with all his heart. And then came another lamentation. He's thinking, my father, Vyankata Bhatt, he told me to worship Lord Chaitanya. He told me to worship Lord Chaitanya. That was his last instruction to me. And I went to Sri Vrindavan Dham. I then left Sri Rangam and I went to Lord Chaitanya. I went to Sri Vrindavan Dham to follow the instructions of Lord Chaitanya. That's why he went. He went to follow Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's instruction. So he goes to Vrindavan. He's doing exactly what Lord Chaitanya asks him to do. The deity comes, Radharaman manifests, he's worshipping Radharaman, and then he's thinking, but I need to worship Lord Chaitanya. I'm worshipping Radharaman, but I need to worship Lord Chaitanya. And one day, when he's worshipping Radharaman, what happens? The deity of Radharaman takes on the form of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he sees this darshan of Lord Chaitanya, and he sees, oh yes, there's nothing different. If I'm worshipping Radharaman, I am worshipping Lord Chaitanya. So in this way, he carried on the worship. He carried on the worship of Radharaman, and he was actually told, Gopal Bhatt Goswami was told by Lord Chaitanya to initiate disciples. So generally, all the devotees that came to Vrindavan from the western side of India was getting initiated by Gopal Bhatt Goswami. Such a humble devotee of the Lord, and he was giving initiation. So there was a Raghunath Bhatt Goswami also, who was giving initiation to those that were coming from the eastern side of India, and Gopal Bhatt Goswami from those who were from the western part of India. So he was giving initiation. One of his prominent disciples is Srinivas Acharya, where we hear this beautiful Sat Goswami Ashtakam, Vande Rupa Sanatana Raghu Yugo Shri Jiva Gopalako. This is the chorus of a very beautiful Ashtakam, 8 beautiful verses glorifying the 6 Goswamis in Sri Vrindavan Dham. And the disciple of Gopal Bhatt Goswami, Srinivasacharya, is the one who composed this beautiful Sat Goswami Ashtakam. And these two boys, remember there were these two boys that he initiated. So what happened in this story, well, one of the versions of the story was that there was a storm, and they went to, and Gopal Bhatt went into the house of this family, and that family could not conceive a child. They were not able to conceive a child. And they asked for Gopal Bhatt Goswami's blessings, that could you give us blessings that we can conceive a child, and we'll make sure that this child becomes a devotee of Krishna. So Gopal Bhatt Goswami gave his blessings, and some years later, one day the boy Gopinath and his younger brother came to Gopal Bhatt Goswami and said, "Yes, you gave blessings to my family. Here we are. We're ready to take shelter of you and become devotees of Krishna." So Gopal Bhatt Goswami, he was going to ask Srinivasacharya to continue the worship of Radharaman after he left this world. But he also noticed that his disciple Srinivasacharya was also a very good preacher. He was very good at sharing Krishna Katha with others. So he thought, actually, even though Srinivasacharya is very qualified, even though he'd probably be the best person to continue this worship of Radharaman, because he is such a prominent, or should we say a very qualified sharer of the wisdom of bhakti, he should continue to do this. So Srinivasacharya became the preacher, and then Gopinath, the older brother of the two, was asked by Gopal Bhatt Goswami to get married and have children, and then continue the worship of. Oh well, he was the Pujari. His name became like Gopinath Pujari. But in this way, if he got married, then then his descendants could continue the worship of Radharaman. So he was asked, and Gopinath, even though this was a request of his guru, it is said that you can say to the guru, if the guru asks you to get married, you can politely decline that request to the guru. So Gopinath politely declined that request and asked if it would be okay that he didn't get married, because he felt that for himself he would do much better just being a pujari and just staying single. But then Gopinath, his younger brother, his name was also Damodar, he then got married, and then his descendants took on the worship of Radharaman. And till this day, 450 years later, it's that family lineage, so Gopal Bhatt Goswami Damodar, who is the younger brother of Gopinath, but the Damodar's family, his son, then to his son, then to his son, all the way down till now, it's that family which is still the main pujaris, or should we say looking after the management of the Radharaman temple in Sri Vrindavan Dham. It goes all the way back, if you like, to Gopal Bhatt Goswami himself. So Gopal Bhatt Goswami, his contribution that he was asked to make was to excavate holy places, which he did in Vrindavan. He was worshipping the Shilas that became the Radharaman deity, which we know is self-manifested. It's like when you go there and you see that this deity actually was not carved. The deity was not carved. It just came from a little stone Shila, and it just became Radharaman. He was asked to also help with the writings of the scriptures. So there's a book called Hari Bhakti Vilas, which was initiated, if you like, by the writings was initiated by Sanatan Goswami, but it was edited by Gopal Bhatt Goswami. We could say co-wrote, edited, but him and Sanatan Goswami wrote this Hari Bhakti Vilas. There was also a book called Satkriya Sara Dipika, which discusses the dealings of this material world, different samskaras, how to live a good married life. And on the other side, he also wrote a book called Samskara Dipika. And Samskara Dipika is the rules and behavior of the renunciates, of the sannyasis, of those that renounce the world. So what is the different ways of being for them? He also wrote the introduction to the Sat Sandarbhas, which is very famous books that were written by Jiva Goswami. He also wrote a commentary on Krishna Karnamrita, which was written by Bilva Mangal Thakur. So Gopal Bhatt Goswami contributed in so many different ways. We don't always know them because he did not want himself to be known, as we know from the beginning. But who, and we think, he didn't want himself to be known, but later when Kavi Karnapur wrote his Gaur Gonadesh Dipika, where he reveals the different spiritual personalities of the devotees that were here in Gaura Lila, he reveals that Gopal Bhatt Goswami was non-different to Ananga Manjari. And Ananga Manjari is the younger sister of Srimati Radharani. And this, in some places it's also described he is Guna Manjari. Either way, Ananga Manjari or Guna Manjari, he's a Manjari. A Manjari is the most confidential servant of the gopis. And very... actually, what's an interesting pastime also is that when Gopal Bhatt Goswami, when he was a young boy and he took the Charanamrit, and he was crying and he was ecstatically so happy. It was in one sense because the mood of Radha is Lord Chaitanya and here is Ananga Manjari. So in one sense what's happening is that they're uniting through Gopal Bhatt Goswami taking this Charanamrit. So there's many wonderful lessons we can learn from the life of Gopal Bhatt Goswami. How at such a young age to have so much eagerness to serve. So when we have our young children, we may be thinking, what's the best thing for my child to do? Is it better they go on Netflix or YouTube? Which is better? But actually, the best thing for our children is, can we somehow connect them to the sadhus? Can we somehow connect them to service? Can we somehow give them an attraction to spiritual life? Because an attraction to spiritual life at a young age always stays with us. When people ask me, what was it that got me involved in spiritual life? And I have a story. I came to this temple when I was 19 and I got attracted to what was happening here. But when I think even before that, when I was a young child, I started watching Ramayana. There was the Ramayana series that was coming out in India, and the videos were also here. And I remember watching that Ramayana and getting so attracted to the pastimes of Lord Ram. And I was thinking, wow, this is a beautiful pastime. And that really stays with me, even at this age. Just those little insights at a young age. So these impressions. So Gopal Bhatt Goswami, we can learn from a young age, having this association with Lord Chaitanya really gave him the rest of his life. And like we said, that on a disappearance day, it's a day that we celebrate a very well-lived life. And his life was, we can say, exemplary in every way. He respected his parents. He stayed with them right till the end. That was the instruction of the Lord, to take care of his parents right till the end. He followed the instructions of his Guru, Prabodhananda Saraswati. He followed the instructions of Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya asked him to go to Vrindavan, even though it would have been so much more tempting to go to Jagannath Puri and be with the Lord. He went and followed the instructions of the Lord. When he went to Vrindavan, he didn't go to Vrindavan like, hey, look, I've arrived. It's me, the one who spent 4 months with Lord Chaitanya. Everybody sit down and listen to me. No, he went to Sri Vrindavan Dham, and when he went to Sri Vrindavan Dham, he went as a humble servant of Lord Chaitanya. He didn't want to be this big man preacher, come and worship me. He wanted to just show his humility. He just wanted to be there as a humble servant of Krishna, a humble servant of the Lord. So we can learn this humility. He didn't want his name in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. He didn't want his name to be mentioned. And that's how he gave the blessings. And maybe we'll just finish here because it's coming up to the time for Gora Arti. and just end with one thing, that his guru, Gopal Bhatt Goswami's guru, Prabodhananda Saraswati, there's this quote that I really love. I don't know it word for word, but it goes something like this, and it really can just, it's really in line with the humility that that Gopal Bhatt Goswami displayed in his pastimes, in the pastimes when he was here. And one of the quotes of Gopal Bhatt Goswami's guru, Prabodhananda Saraswati, goes something like, if Krishna doesn't recognize me, but the whole world is recognizing me, then what is the use of all of that recognition? And if the whole world is spitting at me, but Krishna is recognizing me, then who cares for all that spitting? And that is the teachings of his guru, Prabodhananda Saraswati. And we can really see from the life of Gopal Bhatt Goswami, that's the life that he lived. It doesn't matter what the world thinks of us, as long as we're behaving in such a way that Krishna is seeing us. So in this way, on this special auspicious day, we can take shelter of Gopal Bhatt Goswami, we can take shelter of Lord Chaitanya, and by taking shelter of the Goswamis, we can really get an appreciation for Sri Vrindavan Dham. And hopefully we can all make a trip this year to Sri Vrindavan Dham and go and see Radha Raman and chant Jai Jai Radha Ramana Hari Bol, Jai Jai Radha Ramana Hari Bol, Jai Gopal Bhatt Goswami ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. There'll be Gora Arti now at 7 o'clock, so please do stay and we can all have fun with Gora Arti. Hare Krishna.
Okay. I can eat many.